All right. Well, first off, Helen, thank you so much for coming on our show today.
You're welcome. I'm very happy to come to your show.
All right. So you are a matchmaker and the author of The Matchmaker of the Century.
Yes.
All right. Well, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about your background?
Well, I actually is a business consultant, but I really, really enjoy to matchmaking people since I was a teenager. And then I really like mind other people's business. That was me. So then I find a lot of people, and then I know a lot of people, and I see if they could get together, I help them. And because of so, for the past 10 years, I married 50 couples.
Wow.
And then I write this book.
Well, that is wonderful. Well, how exactly did you become a matchmaker?
Well, I always very, very liked this relationship. I feel for people. I mind people's business. Like, okay, if my girlfriend told me they have a boyfriend, I usually know who is the one suit them better. And then I always know what the man wanted, what is the woman waiting for. So when I see the situation happen, I actually go to help them. Sometimes I actually making the people together. I know them, and then I want them to be friends. Actually, I'm more eager than them. So I'm making them to marry, and then I promote them to marry, and then I'm helping so many people actually become a couple, and that this become a reality.
So what made you interested in helping bring men and women together in the first place? Was it a personal experience or a friend, or what's the reason?
Yeah, I see the people actually deep inside their heart, they're looking for another soul partner, like they really want to in love. But the people has a difficulty. They have a worries. They have a lot of the consideration, like, okay, maybe this one, I'm worried. Maybe they have a lot of fear. So often they missing the people who they really want. So when I see this situation, I push them. And every time I push them, I see people tears, and then they cry, they like it, and then they fall in love, they become actually going to marry and have a family. And when you see people like a bingo, they see the right one, that moment is really, really touching. And then I just cannot get out of this feeling. I just always want to matchmaking people, and now I become really, really, really do this, become not professionally, but it's become part of my job.
I'm sure that it makes you feel just so wonderful at the end of the day.
Yes, it's like a really, really touching. So beautiful when you see people in love, and you know they're in love, and they're really happy about it. And that's just worth of living.
Well, how long have you been doing the matchmaking for?
Well, actually, since a teenager, I do it, but not officially. I just helping people and encourage them. But now, for the past 10 years, I really, really seriously to making the wedding for people, and then encourage them to become go for the married life. And then I marry 50 couples so far.
What's the most interesting part of being a matchmaker?
Well, the really interesting is a challenge. You're making people from they worry, and then they really say no, 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 and become yes, 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 yes. And then they become really, really fall in love, and then they happy, and then they decide, and then they say, I do, I do, I do, and then they marry. And when you see that, you really feel like you're making another couple happen to go into the happiness life, and that is really touching.
Well, you do have some couples that you have helped that are not necessarily wanting to be married. In some of the cases, they did not wish to actually get married at all, which is very different than most of the matchmakers' experience. Could you tell us more about that?
Yeah, I have one woman, her name is Cecilia. I actually tried 8 years to try to make her to say yes. Because she just say, well, I don't want to, well, there was nothing wrong, and I don't want to marry, and she just refused me for 8 years. But at the end, when she say I do to the guy actually she married to, I cry for half hour more than her. Oh. It's really, really nice to see her to change her mind, and then I really talk to her for the 8 years, and after 8 years, she say yes. And now she has a very, very happy marriage.
great. And are most of the couples that you did matchmake, are they still married today?
Yes, and then they have babies. I already have 11 babies now.
Oh, wow, that is wonderful. So how do you feel after matching all those couples?
Yeah, and then we have another 5 pregnant women. They're going to have a baby this month and the next month. And this whole year we have 16 babies. And that's really become, because I become friend with them, and then we stay in contact, and then we talk about it. That's why I write all this in the book, and this is all true story. We even have this film about it. You know, we have a documentary film. We film all these things, and then we're making sure people have a more trust and more belief in marriage, and thinking it's possible you can have the wonderful marriage instead of like just worry, and then you don't see, you know, you want to dating for so long and you still don't marry. So I write all this in the book, and this is all true story, and then they're still alive, and then now they have a babies.
Wow. So not only do you help match these couples, but you also develop lifelong friendships as well.
Yes, and then we become friends, and then they see what's going on, and become, you know the couple, you know the wife, you know the husband, and then now you see them have a baby, and we just like continue, and then all the people, they just know each other, and we actually provided like how we can improve and then have a better, successful marriage, and then they really all become friends, and then it's a really wonderful life, and I see so many, many healthy families.
Well, so go ahead and explain this to me. How does this actually work? Do you know these people and you think that they might be good for another person you know, or do they call you, or how does this matchmaking actually work?
It's just actually, play by ear. I never set up for any system. I actually just know people. And when I know people, because I'm a business consultant, and I also give a lot of lecture, because I give a communication lecture, everything, and then I know so many people. And when I know them, and then I tell them, oh, you should marry, and all such and such. And then I start to know, oh, who knows who, and then who is matching to who. And you start to know a lot of people. And then now I actually just tell people when someone to marry, they tell me. And then when I see somebody fit them, and then I will let them know. So it's just like, play by ear. But then now I become more and more, because I write a book, and then people can contact me and read a book. And if they have the same concept, even when the people, for example, if they're just dating, and then they read this book, and if they both agree with the concept, they don't need me. They just read a book, and then they can marry, because they have the same idea. And that was married couple all about. They can communicate, and then they love each other. They have the same goal in life, and then they could just so simple, and then they fall in love.
Well, that is just wonderful. Well, what is your most challenging case in your matchmaking experience?
Well, the one is the woman recently married, and she married to the guy 12 years younger than her. And in our Chinese societies is very against that fall in love with the guys younger than woman. But they still marry, because I help them go through it. Even parents have a lot of the things to say, disagree, and then they also worry, but after marry, and then they're doing very well. But I do so much energy to talk to them, to go through them, to help them as a matchmaker, actually to console them, and then make them, the relationship become so successful. And this is a lot of work, but basically it was just go through people's fear, because a lot of people, they in love, but then they not dare to jump into the marriage. So that is something you need to push. But that push is you need somebody to talk, because all the people, they could think and then have a feeling and they could understand. You just need somebody to encourage them. And sometimes people, instead of encourage them, they're talking to more dangers, and then, oh, you better don't, or this is scary, and then you will fail, scare them. So if you encourage them, most of the people actually more happy than if you scare them, because they're already scared very much. So if you could just encourage people, they make sense, and then they will marry. So I do, this is the job I call myself. It's like a mission impossible, but so far so good. I'm thinking people really in love, and then they're happy about it, because my push.
That is one of the issues when it comes to marriage. There's either the man or the woman that really just doesn't want to commit yet. And so what you're saying is that there's a lot of them that come in there with the commitment issues, and you just sit there and you kind of push them and say, you know what, marriage is a wonderful thing. And then eventually what you say gets them to tie the knot.
Right, and then they just say, "Okay, I do." And when they say this, they just touching, and then they tears up, and then they hug, and then they're ready to marry, and then man and woman both very happy. That's what I see, almost every month. I see the couples, and then decide to marry. It's just so beautiful, It's like when people decide to marry, it's very sensational, and I just love it.
Well, I find that actually very interesting that in Taiwan, the man is actually supposed to be older than the woman. Is that what you said?
Right. Usually, and family demand like that because they very much believe men should support family, especially financially. But now, a lot of women have a good job, and then they're making good money. So it's already it's okay, the age already not so tight. But traditionally, men should be older.
Well, that's very interesting. So you also have your book out, The Matchmaker of the Century, and you actually wrote about this concept. Real freedom comes after a person gets married. So most people think that after being married, there is less freedom than being single. Now, why did you say that there are more freedom after a person gets married?
Well, people thinking the freedom is like, I can date so many people, or like I can go out and then don't come home, or I can go out to any time and do anything I want, and nobody really, control me. But the reality is when you marry, your heart is really stable. And because of you have a home to go back to, you're actually free and more powerful to do what you want to do, because whatever you do and you go for it, you take the responsibility, and after that you always can go home. And that's really nice when you can go home and somebody love you, and that make you free. Not because you can go anywhere you want and out of control, like call the free. Actually, the freedom is because you have a home to go back. So it's like where your another half is, where is your home? And that gives you the real freedom. It's inside your heart. So when you go out, you concentrate on what you want to do. You concentrate on your dream. You concentrate on your job. But you don't really need to worry about, nobody love you, or you have no home, or you're homeless, or after making money, what you're going to do, who's going to share with you, and all this type of thing. So I'm thinking the freedom is come from because you know fear, because you don't worry, because there's a home always you can go back to, and someone care about you, and you love somebody and is there, and that feeling make you very free, and you can more powerful to do anything you want.
Well, I'm sure commitment is one of the most challenging things that you find when you're trying to actually get couples together. I know over here in the U.S., there's a lot of people that have the problem with tying themselves down with this same problem that we're talking about right now. So if there's someone out there listening, do you have any advice for them?
Yeah, I want them to trust there is possible to find the right one and have the happy marriage. And that is people are very willing to in love, to making a family with you. Don't thinking you are alone. There's so many people want to make this happen. So many people want to fall in love. So many people want to have a good family. So many people want to have a good husband, want to be a good husband. So many women want to be a good wife. They want to taking the responsibility to be a good mother. So plenty of that kind of people. So don't thinking about it's impossible. Don't thinking to have a good marriage is so difficult. No, it's not. As long as you want to, you will find another person who will want to do this with you, and you could find the happiness. So I wish all the fall in love women and men to find a happy family.
Well, that's just wonderful advice. And we're speaking right now with Hellen Chen. She is a matchmaker. She's the author of Matchmaker of the Century. So let's talk a little bit about your book. There's another concept, and normally people say that dating is before marriage, but your concept in your book says that dating comes after marriage, which is very unusual. Isn't dating the way to find out if someone is suitable as a marriage partner or not?
It's not. You know why? Because people changing. So you find this person, you're thinking he fit you, or you're thinking he's not fit you, but you don't really know. You know why? Because you don't really know 10 years later what kind of person you will become. So if you don't know yourself, how can you making another person to know you? and 10 years later, he changed, you change, and you don't really know what kind of person you will become 10 and 20 years later. So it's no reason to try to use in 2 years to know this person, because 10 years later, he changed anyway. So if you trust yourself and you trust another person will want to go to the same way, it's more important you want to dating rest of your life. You don't want to dating for 2 years. That's heartbroken. You want to dating rest of your life. So how this can happen? You only can date after you marry, so you can guarantee you date rest of your life.
Well, I have never thought about that before, and I think that is wonderful advice. So really, if you think that you're going to love this person, if you think you guys can make it through the rest of your life together, go ahead, get married, and learn each other, throughout your marriage.
Yeah, you got the idea. Wonderful.
All right. Well, in the U.S., according to statistics, for every 2 new marriages that occur at the same time, there is 1 divorce taking place. And according to the United Nations survey among 200 countries, United States ranked number 5 in the world statistics for divorce rate. Why do you think the divorce rate in America is so high? Are we in America not taking our marriage vows very seriously?
Well, they actually serious when they marry, but then when the things come difficult, or when they're fighting, or if they don't really trust each other, and then they looking like a very difficult, so they don't love each other, or they're thinking about, we cannot go through. Sometimes it's a bad temper, and it's really naive, and you just fight, and you're angry, and you're broken. But if you don't believe you cannot go through, you could actually go through very well just by keep going working on. Keep going, give another person more time, and give yourself more time, and go through the same goal. Like, for example, you want to have children, you want to raise the children, like you want to build up the house, you want to have the same dream to do the way you guys want to do, even simply like a garden or something. You keep going working on. So the most important is you need to know how to communicate. Most of the couples, the reason they are sad or they fight, because they cannot communicate. It's like, you don't want to talk, or you're talking in a very bad way emotionally. That is really the problem. So what I suggest is like, if people learn how to communicate well, then the marriage can be very smoothly go through. Just try to communicate to each other and enjoy the communication. That is the main part. So when you want to choose somebody to go through with you, you have the same goal and you both can talk. The most important in marriage is talk. It's not the money. It's not how much big house you have or what is your job. It's like that's really not the right way. The most important is you enjoy to talk to the other person, and then the marriage can find the real way. So when problem comes, if you guys can talk, then you don't have to go through the divorce. Usually it's because people cannot talk, so they've broken the marriage.
So do you actually hit on those concepts in your book?
Yes. I write all the things and all the detail, and then, all the things, how to get to the happy marriage, and basically as a concept, and how to fall in love the rest of your life, and dating after marriage. I write all the concepts, and then I say why you have to do so.
So if our listeners are interested, where can they go to get a copy of your book, The Matchmaker of the Century?
I'll just go to the Amazon. Use the website, go to Amazon, and then write Hellen Chen and the Matchmaker of the Century, and that you can buy the book. And
do you have a special kind of event going on right now?
Yeah, we have this special deal, like in the October 3rd, and then we're gonna have the special discount through this Amazon.com. And I hope everybody can buy this book in the same day.
All right. Well, Helen, anything else you'd like to tell our listeners?
Well, I'm going to say, it's more book. If people like to in the English and then also in Chinese, both they could buy from the Amazon.com.
Well, great. And do you have a website that our listeners could go to find out more information?
Yes, they can find me in the Hellen Chen Consultant. And the Facebook also.
All right. Well, Hellen Chen, thank you so much for coming on our show this afternoon.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.